airplane mode. I'm just excited that people also
isikade lezi zinto manje cameraman angitshele mfethu uthela ile ngisiyava TV ayadlala we oya ilasekade
trying to submit their work to a festival? Like anything to look out for, to do to be able to get it?
For sure, I think the first thing is just reading. Reading is very important. So just try your best to follow instruction by instruction what the requirements are. And if you feel like you don't reach the requirements, you have to make a plan. Artist, be creative. That's it really. Just making sure you comply with what the proposal wants from you. And if you don't, you have to creatively gather the resources to help you to get there. Because I'm sure a producer can attest, he says he's received some applications where he feels like the work is great, the subject matter is great, but administratively the submissions are just poor, hard to read, and that can hold you back. So I think,
I think just to add on that, I'm not a business person, but I think one thing I sort of learned from Mongezi was also kind of like this idea of being incredibly prepared. So he would say to me, yo, I'm filling out this application, I'm sending you the script, please rehearse. I'm like, we're not even asking, you know? So even like the way we'd rehearse for like an audition for the festival was like kind of like this very prepared, sort of like psyching us up kind of thing.
So yeah, to just put words into his mouth, we treat every rehearsal like the performance. So that helps you just to prepare more.
Yeah, brother.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Should we look forward to watching the show again, or this is the last one?
Most definitely. Most definitely, we trying to make sure that we put this show in every space that we can be able to get. And we are also hoping that there's someone here saying, here's $1 million, let's do the show, let's take it further, let's take it to Edinburgh, let's
2 million,
5, so we definitely trying to do that.
Ledger, and then saying like, how much of me does it take to sort of like dive in a role like this? I think for me, it's kind of been a really interesting thing because it's one thing that we noticed in the sort of rehearsal space was that we all have some sort of like proximity to characters like this, right? Yeah. And a very deep, like everyone's like, yo, I have a cousin like that. Yeah, I mean, you know, like that kind of thing. So it's like, for me, it's kind of, it really allowed me to kind of like think about people in my own life, cousins that I have, people that have kind of been segregated from my own family, right? And thinking about how do I integrate, and I love that sort of like that wordplay, but how do I then bring myself into their situation? How do I sympathize, empathize, and also how do I then think about like the way we've treated that person? So I think for me, yes, there's been like physical things that our stage manager Kanisa always says, like, you can't, sometimes I'm not UYANGTHOLA, like, you know, because I say things like, oh, I don't boil any beats about it. All of us. Yeah, everyone says this, you know. So I mean like the character definitely kind of like lives in my being sometimes, but I think in more than that, it's kind of like allowed me to just think more about like my own proximity to characters like this. Yeah, and I feel like I've sort of tapped in for a day or two, and lived on the streets for a day or two, and not to, you know, downplay what that might feel like, but yeah. So yeah.
And loved it the first time I said it's my third time coming to the show, simply because of the angles that it gives you. It can never be the same duration over and over again. Another thing, the consciousness and attention to detail. The 2 liter, which is called green, and it's a security, because we know it's another traffic cop. So the attention to detail, I learned a lot. But also another thing is that master, which they are talking about. After watching the show, I went to Bram and I was parked there going to that specific buy and ride, and I saw him and I asked him his story and he was telling me his story. But more than anything, I learned about his story, and he's like, guys, in Shotan in Zipo. And I walked away, I got in Zipo, and I even walked away from the show. And I found him washing cars. And he was in queue, like he's got a proper car wash. So I learned, it is impactful. You can never look at people the same way again. But also, with that as a comment to say, where I sit, or rather where I work, I couldn't just keep quiet. And they were like, they want to actually see UYANGTHOLA. It being, a civic awareness type of a legacy, whether it goes to school and even to civic people who work in these streets. Because we work in Joburg, all of us, but we jump these people, we don't care. People pass with their blue lights, but they don't care. The streets are rotten and so forth. So well done on that narrative. We can never look at the people the same way again. We know they're human beings, they're entrepreneurs. We know that.
Lecturer who sort of guided my writing process at the time, he goes by the name of Vice, right? So the issue he had was that in South Africa, there aren't really many one-hander plays, right? So a requirement of the exam was to write a one-hander play. So that's why I wrote it in the first place. It had to be a one-hander. And obviously, creatively, I was tested to think of, okay, what symbolisms can I use? How can I feature other characters with this one-hander play? So it was a requirement for the exam to do a one-hander.